Hi, everyone. If you remember the case of Bowoto versus Chevron, then you remember that Larry Bowoto and his compadres in 1998 boarded a barge owned by Chevron in Nigeria, in what's called the Nigerian or Niger Delta region, and demanded that Chevron give them jobs, even though Chevron was employing people. To make a long story short, because I've covered it here, the resulting skirmish caused Chevron to call the military police because some of their employees were being held and kidnapped by Bowoto's people. In spite of that, Bowoto filed suit claiming that his civil rights were violated by Chevron. It's kind of like this. Let's say that someone comes into your house, says, I know you have a consulting firm, you give me a job right now, and I'm not going to leave, I'm going to sing songs until you do it. And let's say that person happens to have a lug wrench, all right? Then what are you going to do? Are you just going to say, oh, great, have some tea, have some milk, have some cookies? Hell no. You're going to call the cops. Now, are you responsible for what the police do? Of course not. You called the cops because you felt your safety was threatened. That was it. Well, last fall, that matter came to trial at the U.S. District Court in Susan Ilston's court in San Francisco. And the judge and jury agreed that Chevron was not responsible at all for what happened to Larry Bowoto and the persons who call themselves the concerned Ilaji citizens at all. But that wasn't enough for them. It wasn't enough for the people in Amazon Watch either. It wasn't enough for the attorneys representing Larry Bowoto. They filed for a new trial, basically say, hey, look, you didn't pay attention to my evidence. Well, guess what? On Wednesday, Judge Ilson turned around, looked at their claims again and said, hey, they did pay attention to the evidence. They don't agree with how you interpret the evidence, and your request for a new trial is denied. This puts all the pressure right back on Bowoto's attorneys. They ought to be responsible for paying Chevron for the cost of that entire fiasco of a court situation. The whole thing. Why? Because, first of all, this matter has been driven by Amazon Watch, an organization that I can't even find a website for, a credible website for. And then it's been pushed by the Amazon Defense Coalition, which is completely invisible. What are they, an LLC? Who runs them? I have no idea. And then they have PR firms in Washington pushing this as well. What's their real agenda? Who's paying them? Nobody has any idea. And yet they claim that the poor African citizens are being harmed by the rich white interlopers in business. That's BS. That's total crap. Here's why. Because constantly, Nigerian Delta militants are threatening oil executives regardless of color. And I might add, regardless of where they come from. For example, they kidnapped a member, a CEO of one of Nigeria's 7 largest oil producers, who happens to be Nigerian and black, and which other militants have said, hey, look, he's a good guy. But you know what? The other people kidnapped him anyway. This is ridiculous, and the whole story isn't being told. What's the real issue? The real issue is that Nigeria is not taking care of its economic development responsibility. That's the real issue, excuse me, because this has got me pissed off. It's got me pissed off because I'm tired of this facade of extortion and facade of racism. We've got to tell the real story here, and Nigeria's got to get its act together.